Welcome once again to Off the Edge podcast. I'm Zach with my buddy Matt, and we on Zoom here have members of a band called The Science Of. This is a project that we are super excited about. They're about to release their debut album here coming up next month, I believe. And I'm afraid I don't know everybody's names. John Dillinger, I know you're the bass player. We go back a ways.
I'll just pass the mic down. Everyone can say hi and
all right. Yeah. Well, why don't
whatever they want to say? Yeah,
you got the mic.
John Dillinger.
You've got the mic. Why don't you? Well, yeah. Tell us your name and what you do in the band, and kind of give us a rundown.
Who is your daddy and what does he do? Yeah, my name is Lucas O'Doherty. I do the drums and production for the band.
My name is Ashlee Hennedy. I sing and I did lyrics.
I'm Robert Combs. I do guitar and tall guy stuff.
Tall guy stuff. Nice.
Always important to have a guy that does the tall guy stuff.
Got to have somebody to reach stuff.
Excellent. And John, what do you do? Just sit there looking pretty?
Yeah. I guess I didn't mention that. I play bass.
Sweet. So how long have you...
Sometimes the bass plays me.
In Russia, bass plays you. So how long have you guys been together?
I mean, this is probably the longest we've been this close together ever. So, yeah. No, this little pet project, I guess, probably started between you guys initially, and then I moved down to the Southwest Missouri last year about this time, and I said, "Hey, Rob, I'm moving down to this area. Like, you know any band?" And he's like, "Actually," and so. It kind of started there, and then catastrophe happened. Of course, COVID, but that's not the only one. And I could let Rob talk about what kind of delayed everything getting started.
You know, there's one huge benefit to being a bass player is that there's always a band needing one.
This is true. Well, take it away, Rob. Give us the lowdown.
Okay, so me and Lucas were talking about starting a band for quite a while, and then John messaged me right around the time we were getting serious about starting it. And then I damn near cut my thumb off. Ooh. And that set us back a few months. And then around the time that got better, COVID hit. And at some point I just decided, well, screw it. I'm getting a home studio set up and I'm just going to send some demos to these guys, see what happens. And they started sending tracks back and it just absolutely blew it out of the water. So just kind of worked out.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I slowed down the process too, because around the time we were starting to track, I went and broke my shoulder like an idiot. So that slowed us down even more. So, I mean, it's been a long year of doing this project. So it's awesome to see it finally come to fruition.
Please, both of you tell me that you have a good story to go with these accidents.
Washing dishes.
Oh.
I just tripped and fell off my porch.
Oh, okay. So, those are
that's what a battered husband sounds like.
Yeah, those are like
that's a cry for help.
Old man problems, I feel like.
I can relate.
But yeah, after that, we had the demos done and we had a lot of the music done, and we were looking for a vocalist, and we were just, oh my gosh, who are we going to find? And one of my coworkers at the time at Ernie Williamson Music was like, "Hey dude, my wife's looking for a band. She can sing." So we were like, all right, let's send her the stuff and see what she can do. And immediately we were just like, that's it. That's the voice we need. That's what we're looking for.
That's awesome.
So,
it's awesome when things come together like that.
Yeah.
Kismet.
John, when he actually reached out to me and told me about your project, and I've known you. We're not like people that keep in touch all the time. We're not like super close, but I always feel like when we talk, we do get together, it's like a long lost brother, and we just pick up wherever we left off last time we talked, and it's just very natural and stuff. So it was kind of one of those situations, and I was just like so excited, one, for John to be in a serious project moving forward, because I know he's an awesome bass player and a hell of a guy. But then he I was lucky enough that he sent me one of your tracks, and I'm not sure if it's the final mixed version, but
It's not.
It's not. Well, it was of a quality that was high enough, at least, that I was blown away when I heard it, and definitely was vibing on it. And I was struck immediately out of the gate, just like you said you guys were, when I heard the vocals. Threw me for a loop in the greatest way. So, and I so apologize. What's your name, singer?
Ashlee.
Ashlee. I wanted to say that as I was like, I think it's Ashlee, but I'm going to mess it
Well,
up.
it doesn't help. I said call her Jennifer.
Well, Ashlee, what could you tell us? Kind of. Well, one, how did you get started singing? If you've been in any projects in the past, let us know about that. And then, what was your feeling, kind of getting involved with these guys?
Yeah, so I've just kind of been singing my whole life. I think I started singing at like, I don't know, old people events when I was like 3. And then I got into voice lessons very briefly and decided that I despised it because they tried to make me sing like an opera singer and I wanted to sing like this. So I just said, absolutely not. I have never been in any projects. I've been wanting to be in projects a lot, and I've been writing lyrics my whole life. I've been writing poetry my whole life. So when my husband mentioned that Lucas was going to be reaching out to me, I was ecstatic because I finally had a musical outlet again, since I wasn't doing music in college anymore. Yeah, so whenever I heard the demos, I was like, "Whew, I don't know if I can do this," but I did, and here we are. But it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed getting to work with these guys, and they've pulled a lot out of me that I didn't know was in there. So I really appreciate them letting me into this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that a little bit. I'm still just absolutely blown away that she came into this project with songs already written, having never really been in a band, or that's, to me, that sounds like an impossible task. And the fact that the songs turned out the way they did, when I listened to them, I'm just like, it seems like she's been doing this for 20 years and we're the rookies. So, I mean, she really knocked it out of the park with this.
Yeah. I mean, just listening to the one song, Asylum, I have to agree. I was just like, she's a pro right off the bat, you know. The whole thing, all of the music, the whole shebang just is very polished. And one thing that it caught me off guard was how low you're singing in that song, just right off the bat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think there's a hidden story here. I think we've misconstrued that demo, or is it actually her?
Oh, it's her.
it's her.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my jaw hit the ground when she laid down that track. I think that was one of the first songs she tracked, and when she came in and started singing, it was the second one.
So we're like, hey, can we hear something? We were like, hey, can we hear something we haven't heard? Because it's other songs are a little bit more upbeat, kind of a little more pop influenced. And so we're like, hey, do you got something else? And she's like, well, I've kind of got this song. And at the time, it was actually called Kirish. All of our Rob and I's naming conventions weren't clever, but like any of our influences on songs, we kind of named them that. So this song was actually called Kirish, and it absolutely sounds nothing like The Cure now. But when we were first working on it, it sounds a lot like The Cure. And we just launched Facebook recently, and we put together like a teaser video that's on there. It's like a computer screen, and there's some binary code on the bottom. If you hear it in the background, there is like a bass and guitar kind of playing. That's Rob and I writing stuff. It's just like my phone. And that's like the original us kind of coming up with that. So that's kind of where it started, and that's kind of where it ended up. But anyways, Ashlee just started singing that song, and Lucas and I just were like, we just looked at each like, what? And most of that is her first take.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was funny because so we did all of this over Dropbox because of COVID. So I was just sending them like crappy cell phone recordings of me singing over the demo tracks that they had already put together. So I had only sent them, I think, like 2. And the first day I came in, I was like terrified because I had never like recorded anything. And I was like, they're going to make fun of me because I'm going to be so bad at this. And that's when we did the first one. I think it was Part of Me was the first one we did. And then, like John said, they asked for something new. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start out pretty low on this one. And I do not think they were expecting that at all.
Yeah, it's surprising in such a good way. Sense of melody. I mean, it's just all of it. This is, like you said, John, that this was kind of a Cure vibe to start out with. And this song in particular, Asylum, I got a kind of a Perfect Circle vibe. I'm not saying it sounds like a Perfect Circle, but I'm just saying like whatever a Perfect Circle does for me in an emotional sense, like that song kind of hit that freaking frequency in my soul, or however you want to say that. I don't know. It's very original. I don't want to try to say that it sounds like another band. It really doesn't. But for me, it just it puts me in that kind of a mood, I guess.
Don't you love it when people describe your music?
Right. Yeah. It's like,
I actually like that. I prefer that to trying to describe it myself, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to describe your own music. I've always equated that as like you're trying to describe your scent to somebody. You know, you don't smell yourself. You don't know what you smell like really ever.
Right.
Other people do, but you know, it's so like when someone's like, what's your music like? It's like, you know, I just kind of give it the alternative rock, indie rock tag, something generic, and then let them decide and fight over the sub tagging themselves. Cause like the subgenres are just, it seems like they're kind of endless these days. So.
Yeah, they're horrible.
So Lucas, you got the mic. Why don't you tell us kind of like your musical history? Where like, what are you bringing into this band? Where did you get started? John has told me that you do a lot of streaming also, kind of.
Yeah. So my, I played guitar like my whole life, probably since I was a little kid. And then when I moved down here, my wife and dad and I wanted to get into music. So I decided I was going to learn to drum because my dad played guitar. My wife wanted to play bass. And I didn't want to deal with a drum machine. So I just we started kind of just writing these shitty punk songs, and it's evolved into this kind of low tuned 3-piece, you know, wall of sounds style of band that we mostly just stream on Twitch. This is my studio here. Just because with COVID, and then streaming kind of took off a lot more from there. But, when I started drumming, Rob caught one of our, actually we did a show together when in another band he was in Lunar Tides over in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And afterwards, John approached me. He's like, hey, dude, we're thinking of starting to do this other project. Would you like to be a part of it? And I was like over the moon because I hadn't had a ton of experience in bands either. And I like the technical side of it and whatnot. So I was like, yeah, I think I can bring a lot to the table. And that was a fun project for a couple of years. And then once it kind of went its separate ways, you know, that's when me and Rob were kind of like, hey, I kind of want to keep playing music with you, dude. You're fun to play with. And he was like, yeah, we should figure something out. And that's kind of this, where it connects to that other story of the last year, just basically putting this together and doing all that stuff. So,
you know, I totally remember Lunar Tides, and now I'm like making the connections like, man, these guys look familiar. I was like, now I know.
Sweet.
And there's another kind of throwback to another band. I may be wrong. I know, John, you played bass in a band in Joplin, Missouri called The Lonely, right? And Rob, were you the guitar player in that band as well?
Yeah, that would be the connection. I'll let Rob talk. He's antsy.
I was one of the guitar players. That was a too many cooks in the kitchen type of band.
A revolving door.
Yeah, I was comfortable in my role of, the song's already done. Let me add this layer to it, you know.
Oh, all right. I remember back
that's where we met. So.
I was living in Pittsburgh at the time that The Lonely was active, and that band really stuck out to me as a unique sound, especially in the local scene with the industrial elements to the music. And I really enjoyed that band a lot, honestly. When John said that, you know, you guys were getting back together, I was like, oh, oh, this could be magical here. So, Rob, like, aside from that band,
we sound nothing like that, but
right. No, I want to make that clear. If you're familiar with The Lonely, this is not the same kind of vibe, but, why don't you give us kind of a rundown of where your musical journey started and where you've kind of come from?
Okay. Well, I started playing guitar when I was like 11 and a half, 12, because I wanted to be the next John Bon Jovi. That's Bon John Baloney. No, sincerely. No, I saw one of his music videos and I was like, well, that looks like fun. If I have to pick a career, that guy looks like he's having fun, I'm going to do that. And my first real band, I guess, would have been The Lonely. And when that kind of fell apart, I stayed with that same group of people for a couple of projects and did a couple punk bands here and there, took a little bit of a hiatus. And then I think, I was in a punk band when me and Lucas played together. And I was like, I've just been in a lot of projects where I was the back burner musician. And I feel like with this project, Lucas kind of encouraged me to step up to the plate and start writing songs, which I hadn't done in a very long time. So it's really nice to see these, I guess, B-side songs come to the light of day. And it's like, oh, these sound like they were in my head. And I didn't even remotely tell anybody what to do. So
nice.
I don't know. It's been very organic and effortless, and just everybody's been so great. There's been no weird band drama and people acting like children like I've experienced yet. It's been really nice. I don't know. So
sounds like a solid start.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what you always hope for. It's signs that we expect great things from you because everything's firing on all cylinders, I guess. Way to put it.
Very much so. I've had to refrain from bringing new ideas to the table until these ideas actually are out there. So
yeah.
Matt has the problem with that too.
Yeah. I also put a whole bunch of irons in the fire, so I always have something pulling me one way or another. Right now it's programming lights, so that sucks.
Yeah.
But worth it.
But totally worth it. Totally worth it. So what how many songs do you guys actively have now that you're planning on leaking out here and there?
I think how many are on the album, or how many are we leaking?
Well, how many are going to be on the album?
Well, if you count the intro, I think it's 8. It's 8. If you don't count the intro, it's 7. But I mean, like the way digital platforms work now, even if you want it to kind of tie in, I like to break off the intro just so if someone wants to listen to that specific song. So it's technically part of the first track, but it's also its own thing. So I guess that we'll just go with 7 to be safe.
Yeah,
makes sense.
We kind of tossed this idea back and forth on one of a previous podcasts of, kind of the model right now is releasing a single at a time, and a lot of the new stuff. I've heard that. Yeah, a lot of the new stuff that we're writing intros and outros, kind of with the idea of an album, but also with the idea of a live show to keep things moving, so you don't have dead air, kind of treat it like TV or radio and always have something on there. But, then you could do single versions where you cut that stuff off, you have a definite start and definite end. And then, you can put the album out in its entirety later on, but also thought to hammer home the experience, the one song flowing into the next song and stuff like that, is also release the album as one track.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So if it's like 45 minutes, it's just one track, It's still shorter than Dope Smoker by Sleep.
Yeah. That's a long song, but yeah, that's an interesting concept. And with digital platforms, you can kind of do that. You can release it all broken up. You could probably put it as one all playthrough. I don't think we've really discussed that, but I'm kind of leaving some of that distribution stuff up to these guys. Since I did the backbone of the production, it's kind of nice. Everyone's kind of taking the wheel, so to speak, on some of the stuff. So I don't feel like I'm overloaded. I don't think Rob or John or Ashlee feel like they're overloaded with anything. So it's been nice.
The divide and conquer strategy is always the way to go, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, John, we got everyone else's backstory. Why don't you kind of give us yours, man?
Okay. It was 1989. Actually, I don't know what year it was. But I don't know if you guys remember this really bad Vietnam drama show on TV. It might have been CBS. It could have been ABC. I don't remember. No, it was called Tour of Duty. But young me, who was grew up in rural Kansas, country music was pretty much everything. The theme song for that TV show was Paint It Black. And young me, however old I was, 8 or 9, just blown away with that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to learn this song. And so I got this really crappy beat up garage sale guitar. And I just tried to learn that until my fingers bled. Of course, I was unsuccessful. And I'm sure I had undiagnosed ADD, so I gave up. But I always, from that young age, loved rock music and wanted to get into it. And so kind of later on in my teen years, I got hooked up with some guys in high school, and I ended up meeting Casey Starrett, Nathan Conley, those guys, and we started a band, and we ended up opening for Blood Red Moon at some house party. And I don't even know if you remember that, Zach, or not, but we played 4 songs.
I do remember that.
It was horrible. Jason Manderscheid was going to sing for us, but he literally never did sing. No offense to him. I mean, we're just young kids. We didn't know what we were doing, but
we were in the same boat, man. we were horrible.
But I mean, it was a good time. Had fun. But yeah, and then met you in college, and I made that connection. Like, oh, you're in Blood Red Moon, and then I ended up getting hooked up with guys in the ICC Blue Nut band, Donnie Fuqua and Steve Graham. And we did that little quick one-off with the guy we met from Seattle. What was it called? Pastor of Muppets.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Blood Red Moon, you guys played with us at Neota Shea at the Armory, didn't you?
Yes. Pastor of Muppets.
Yeah.
Love it.
The guy from Seattle, Jeff Lorian, was in a band called Coffin Break, and they're kind of a mid-level band in the 90s in the grunge scene.
I remember him telling me that he opened for Pearl Jam at some point, which was
and he
cool.
Totally did. Actually, a little while back, I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum in Cleveland, and there on the wall, next to the Nirvana stuff, is Coffin Break stuff. I'm it just hits home, that connection. Even in little small town Kansas, we have that connection to bigger things, and it's just kind of exciting.
Oh yeah.
But we have to play Corners of Bellevue with Donnie Fuqua, Steve Graham, and Mike. And then that was kind of just getting to the point where I don't know if it wasn't working anymore, or I don't know, the Lonely needed a bass player, and I was super excited with what they were doing. And so I ended up joining with them, and I moved up to Lawrence, and then I hooked up with this guy called, his name's Jeff, and we did this band called Jeffy. And we, Scrappy's Attic.
We heard a few weeks ago that you were in the Cattywampus band for about 5 minutes, maybe before they were even named that.
Yeah, we were just kind of working on covers and stuff, but it was just driving from Lawrence down to Independence was just kind of a stretch for me to do, but it worked out for them, and it worked out for me because I had some fun in Scrappy's Attic because I joined up with them for a while, and. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And these guys are laughing at me. I'm laughing at her. Oh, you're laughing at her. That was my quick abbreviated music background.
Well, that's cool. And, with all those different experiences, then you can come together and form Voltron in this project, The Science of. So, all right, the band is called The Science Of, and I think that, John, we've talked on the phone, and you told me that there's some, maybe in a loose way, there's kind of like a science-y theme kind of going on. What is that about? Where did the name come from?
Wait a second. We need to address the elephant in the room.
Oh, okay.
You actually talked on the phone?
Yes. Yeah, we didn't text. We talked. We talked on the phone.
What is that like?
The only reason I answered is because it was John.
Yeah, oh, thanks, man. I have no idea actually how we came to the conclusion of The Science Of. We were going to be called The After Party for a while, and then we found out there's way too many bands called that. Yeah. Lucas has the answer for The Science Of.
So yeah, like you said, we were going to call it The After Party because we thought it'd be super cool, like to do this album cover, where there's just like people kind of passed out on an old Polaroid, and like, we just thought that was just kind of neat looking. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the band name doesn't reflect the song or lyrics at all because there's just such a organic process in how we've written it. But we started just throwing ideas around, and like, I don't know, Rob suggested The Science Of, and I thought that was kind of clever because you can drop an album title every time, and it almost plays off the word that whatever you decide to title the album. So the debut album, we had talked about titling it Everything, and so the band name is The Science Of, and the album is Everything, and we just thought it was kind of clever. But like lyrically and musically, it has nothing to do with science whatsoever. It all comes from Ashlee's mind and her inner darkness, because some of the lyrics are pretty dark.
I tell you what, though, taking that album cover concept that you just talked about for the After Party and putting The Science Of over the top of that still works.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out artwork last minute, so we're kind of under the gun. I'm actually talking to an artist right now just to feel them out, if they're worth the money, to see if they can do a design that we've kind of talked about. So I haven't heard back yet, but we'll see. We'll see what we end up with.
Right on. Well, Ashlee, I would love to hear from you, kind of where your inspiration for the lyrics comes from. Lucas mentioned that they're pretty dark.
Therapy.
Do you just have a Vanta Black soul, or is this like a cathartic kind of thing? Like taking, like I really like aggressive music and dark music, and I feel like for me, it's like taking things that are weighing me down and negative in my life, and then like taking that energy and doing something positive with it.
Turning that frown upside down.
Yeah. So, I want to get, where's your mentality with the lyrics? Where does that come from? What's your inspiration on that?
Yeah. So pretty much just my screwed up mind. The therapy joke was not necessarily a joke. I probably should be in it, but I'm not. So this is actually like a really therapeutic way to get a lot of that stuff out. And like growing up in the Bible Belt, like there's some stuff you just can't talk about like outwardly, So it's, I don't know, this was just a really nice way to get some of that stuff out that I am not able to talk about often. And then you put a pretty melody to it and it almost sounds normal.
That's a true story.
Yeah, but I think our first single and the one that we're doing a video to is called Monster. That one, so my backyard is a cemetery, and I was laying in bed one night and I was like playing this track on loop, like trying to figure out what to write to it, and I just had this like scene in my head of like somebody's inner demons like physically chasing them through a cemetery, and that's how it was born. So
nice.
Yeah. I like that. That's very evocative. Yeah. I'm just like now you got like pictures running through my head. I'm I'm sitting here just getting lost in the imagery that goes along with that. I'm like, wow.
That's good.
Well, that's cool. I can't wait to hear that song.
Well, and now I want to see a video, like you're saying. So,
yeah,
we're actually filming it Sunday.
Nice. Y'all dressing up as monsters?
I don't know. Lennon Caldwell from Caldwell Media, he does a lot of videos and stuff for local bands, and he's got some ideas in mind. There's a place off my property that's kind of got this dead, eerie tree, and we're going to do the performance shots out there. And then he's got something in mind for Ashlee for up close with some green screen, and I don't know what he uses, but everything that he does always turns out incredibly well. So I'm glad that I made the connection with him, and I've worked with him before, and he's really efficient at what he does. And it's nice to know someone like that we can call him and be like, hey, we got this song and idea, and he listened to them all, and he suggested this song, which we kind of all agreed with. And I'm excited. I don't know what it's gonna, what he's got in mind, but I know it's gonna turn out well. And we should be, if things go right, that should be debuting around the time that the album comes out. So
cool,
excellent.
I love Dead Trees.
Yeah, man, this one's pretty spooky looking.
Yeah.
Takes me back to the scene in Poltergeist.
I like the tree of the dead in Sleepy Hollow. All twisted and gnarled. But I tag, like geotag, like GPS tag, because the job I do takes me all over Kansas. I work on copiers, so I drive everywhere, and anytime I see a tree from the highway that I like, I tag it so I can go back, either take pictures or we can shoot video or whatever. I like dead trees.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Well, what's the date of the album release?
Right now we're shooting for May 11th, and I think we're on schedule for it. I just started setting dates on stuff because, I know that if you don't set dates on things, sometimes things often don't get done. Like the other EP I'm working on that was sometime soon that is still nowhere near done. But I just knew that if we didn't, it might draw it a little longer. So, and yeah, we decided to release it on Richard Feynman's birthday, just to kind of play a little bit more into the mystery of, the science of, and who are these guys and what are they all about. So
excellent. You can't go wrong with tying it into experimental physics. Right. I love it. And Richard Feynman is a inspiration to me, just on a personal level. That's pretty awesome. I like that a lot.
Well, you look for the original dates, and you can't make Pi Day, you can't make May the 4th. So you just find the next thing.
The next thing that hasn't been used already.
Right. Yeah. So 7.5 songs. Did you decide on a title for it?
I think they said everything.
Oh, I know, but
that might be a John question. I think it was his idea.
Oh, we've been dropping teaser videos, and I just did a quote by so in the teaser video there's some binary code, and the binary code, giving up for anyone that actually wanted to look at it, the binary code has our release date in it. But so I just looked up stuff on binary code, and I saw the name of the guy, and I cannot remember for the life of me his name right now, but he's the modern, or attributed to modern binary code. And I found a quote of his that really fit with what we're trying to do. And it starts off with the word everything. So the next teaser video that Lucas put out, who was it? That one by, Heinlein.
Yeah, I just can't remember.
Just for future reference, you do an acoustic EP, something like that, you need to do The Science of Bob.
The Science of Bob?
The Science of Bob.
Yeah, so the first quote was, everything is theoretically impossible until it is done. And then the second one was by Robert Heinlein. Everything is theoretically impossible until it is done. Oh, no, sorry. That's what I just said. Okay, thanks. We can edit this for content later so I don't sound like an idiot.
Nope. You're going to sound like an idiot.
We don't cut anything.
If we sound like idiots, you got to also.
Yeah, I mean,
it's part of the
people
deal.
that know me will be like, hey, that's classic Dillinger, so it's perfect. So the original, so our first teaser is by Gottfried Leibniz. I don't know if I'm saying that right. everything that is possible demands to exist. I was like, that's cool, because we're putting out something new, and we're just wanting to see where the possibilities of everything will go. And then Lucas just randomly found this one that says everything is theoretically impossible until it's done by Robert Heinlein. And so I'm like, hey, we're doing everything. So that seems like it'd be a cool album name, and the science of everything. It's a pretty bold statement for a freshman album. So
Yeah.
and they we're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it. So yay.
Decided here. You heard it here first.
All right. That's cool. That brings to mind, like I like to listen to podcasts with scientists and physicists and stuff, and there's a couple people working on like theories of everything. One of my favorite guys, Eric Weinstein's got a mathematical explanation of the universe that he thinks might be a theory of everything. There's who is it? This got the this, oh gosh, it's the simple automations, like basically simple building blocks can build in complexity to create everything. I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's the kind of things that it makes me. I think this stuff
is cool, man.
Yeah, man.
I used to listen. I worked at Wells Fargo up in Iowa before I moved down here, and I used to listen to a lot of podcasts like that too, not only with some of the scientists and whatever, but like Lawrence Krauss and some of the, more
intellectual
Dawkins,
thinkers,
the more combative people, but there was always a lot to take away from it. So I think that's really cool, man. I'm kind of into that same stuff.
Awesome.
I've decided that 2021 is the year of Alex Jones.
Oh my gosh.
I strongly disagree.
I'm joking.
But
I'm joking.
Yeah. Hey, a broken clock can be right twice a day.
That's true.
Not if it's military time.
Oh, yeah. Touche.
So, are you guys, have you been playing shows, or are you waiting to do that, or like, what does that look like for you for the science of?
When we decide that it's a feasible option, we definitely will. We just haven't reached that point yet. We're definitely going to do streaming for sure. I think we're going to start with that and kind of take off from there. We want to avoid the typical local band thing. You start out, 10 of your friends show up, you play 10 more shows, and it's the same 10 friends at that show. Want to get our name out there first a little bit and just build some hype, put some feelers out there, just see what happens. Cool.
When you guys do stream, be sure to let us know, and we will, kick out that signal, trying to let all our followers know to check that out when that goes down. Just based on the little bit that I've heard of you guys, I think anyone that follows us, it would be well worth their time to check you out, because they're going to enjoy it. So
I'm going to be honest. I'm excited to hear us, because we've only actually heard ourselves in the box. We have never actually sat together and played a song yet.
Right.
This is probably the longest we've been together, other than maybe a couple times when we all came in when she was doing some tracking. So I'm excited to get to. I like Lucas and Ashlee here. I'm going to be honest, I hardly know. So I'm getting to learn more about them right now, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, the first practice is going to be fun, just to hear everything, in real time for the first time. I'm sure I'll get the tingles and the feelies.
Yeah, I've been playing the album playthrough and prepping for this music video. Like, I go through it maybe once or twice a day, and then I spend a little extra time on the song we're shooting the video for Sunday, because I've got to hit it note for note, pretty much, especially if he wants to line up the video and us not look like we're really bad at what we do. So I think once we start playing, it'll be really easy. And in fact, I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start the initial rehearsals and stuff. And then once we get all that down, I imagine we'll start exploring songwriting as a group for the first time, which will be really exciting to see, because I don't know where it's going to go from here, how it's going to change, or, the ebb and flow of a lot of minds working together versus guys like Rob over here writing the parts sending them to John. And like when I tracked my drum parts, they sent me all these ideas. I didn't even listen to the songs until I pulled them up for my session. And most of my drum takes are just kind of off the cuff, plain improving all the way through on all the takes that are on the record. So they turned out pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
As a person that shoots music videos, I can't thank you enough for practicing
welcome,
to the
man.
recorded track.
Yeah, it's rough.
The best piece of advice I can give, especially if you guys are tracking your own stuff, is, take your final version and just drop the click with it. So any breaks, anything like that, you have your count ins, all that stuff. I've worked with several people that play to a click, but the drummers like to go into the fills hot, and so they come out one click short. I don't know what
you're talking about, man.
And so, I just got done chopping up a whole bunch of takes because I had to shift by one click. You know what I mean? For sure. It would have made all the difference in the world to just have the recorded track with the click that they could follow. Because they later on, just the individual drum track, they got off. They had to play to the recorded track because nobody else was playing. So there were a couple of times where they got off, but because they had the recorded track in their ear, they got back on. Mm-hmm. Instead of losing that beat, they just picked it up and went on. So kudos.
Yeah, I've got this track loaded because it starts with guitars. So, for the precision of the guitar note and the attack and the transient to line up for Rob, he's going to have that 8-count click, and the click will be, I've thought ahead finally, and I feel good about it because this song that we're tracking for, it also has a spot where all the instruments drop out, 2 spots, and she's singing and I'm doing like these drum fills, and they have to be spot on or they're going to look real bad. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, look, we can work a lot of magic, but the less we have to work, the happier we are.
And I feel your pain, like on practicing like the studio recorded version of the song. I tend to improvise fills when I play, and probably don't do everything exactly 100% the same, like anytime I play a song. So yeah, spending that time to practice before shooting is definitely well worth it.
Lucas says, I agree. He had to fix the gate.
Oh.
He's doing sound man stuff over here.
Sound guy stuff never stops.
Nice.
I understand. How do you, John, you got the mic. How do you approach that stuff? Are you, do you plan it all out, or do you kind of like let it rip and see what comes out? More improvisational kind of style? How did you approach writing your parts for these songs?
Gonna be honest, I watch a lot of Rick Beato, What Makes a Song Great, and when I was trying to like come up with parts, I'm like, if Rick Beato was reviewing our song, what would stand out here? And he would be like, let's check this part out. So I kind of try to apply what little bit of music theory I could remember from ICC and try to do some, not root note type things.
Yes.
Was coming up with parts. So I guess that would be kind of like my thoughts behind stuff. But sometimes you got to dig in and do the root notes, especially, to give room and space for the vocals to do their thing, not crowd them out.
Right. Yeah. Always being mindful of not overplaying, leaving space for the other players. That's super important in any group, for every musician in the band at certain points, for sure.
And it's these two, I was really impressed with how unknowingly they work together. Lucas, without having like literally no vocals or thought 2 vocals were put into these songs when we were writing. So like his drums playing and stuff where he's doing fills really opens it up for vocals to fit nicely. And then Ashlee does a fantastic job of like her lyrics and her melody and stuff, fitting it into like organically how it just to me, it sounds like we all worked on these for the most part in a room and worked them out. And it's just crazy how it all like came together.
Yeah, it sounds pretty amazing how seamless it's been for you guys. I just can't overstate how excited I am to fully hear the full finished product of it.
Well, and it's cool because, I mean, really you guys are kind of approaching this as music is being made today. I mean, somebody starts with an idea, sends it to the next person, and kind of riffs it back and forth instead of being, 4 people in a room.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Thrice's "To Be Everywhere Is to Be Nowhere" was all written remotely and mixed after the fact because they all lived so far apart. So I knew if those guys could do something like that, and I'd never really done anything like that. And I think it was definitely an interesting creative process to write that way. And just, here's what one guy had and what's the domino effect. Like this other guy added this element. What can I bring to it? And then do the so it was definitely fun. I would like to do it again in the future, but I'm also looking forward to writing as a group just to see what comes out of us as a unit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's something about being in a room with, live amps that you can't replace.
Start vibing off each other and, oh, what'd you just do there? Do that again, or it's definitely a different element for sure.
Or what'd you do there? Never do that again.
Oh, wow, that's shit.
To elaborate on that, part of the reason when we were forming this project that I picked the people I did is because vibes so well off each other. Like me and Lucas would have ideas in our last band, and everybody else in the room may not necessarily vibe off of what we were doing, but we would be like, okay, we have to come back to that later, and then it would just never happen. Same with John, being in the lonely,
Oh, we've lost your audio.
Hello?
You're back. Okay.
But we had the same situation. We'd be jammed together, have something great, and then it would just get lost in time. So when both of them approached me, I was like, well, this is just perfect because I know right off the bat we work well together.
Mm-hmm. That foundation.
So I'm very much looking forward to collaborating more in a room in the future.
Excellent.
Well, and I think that will bring new things that you don't find. I mean, even with the stuff that you've created individually, put together, I think when you get it into the room, you'll be like, oh man, I wish I would have thought of that,
Yeah.
Where it's just something new happens,
We've definitely run into that. We've laid down tracks and then as we play them, the songs even evolve further. And now it's like we play some songs live in it. It's pretty different. It's a pretty different experience from the recorded version. And I
actually think that's really cool when bands do that, though. You get your album version, and the album version's great, and then you get the live version of that band, and it's, there's a couple bands that I like where they'll play a song completely different, and that's totally okay, because of all, I'm surprised to hear it, but it still does, this different version still does the song justice, so I think that's cool when people do that.
Well, yeah. You think of those bands out there that have played the same shit for 20 years, it's like, let's rewrite this song. You know what I mean?
You got to keep it interesting to play and for you to get into it and everything.
But then there's that fine line because you got those diehards out there. It's like, you sons of bitches, you didn't play that song. There was a hi-hat double tap right in there and it's gone. What are you doing?
Asylum, he does a bell hit on the ride that both him and I were like, oh, that's awesome. So you always have to do that. That's one of those things, like, if you don't do that live, that dude out in the audience is just going to be like, where's my ride bell hit?
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely going to be signature things in the songs that stand out. That's like, oh, I'm going to have to do that every time. Yeah.
Well, and it's usually those things that you're like, I'm going to have to do that every time.
I don't know. I always feel that way about something. I'm like that was perfect. I don't need to change that. Like I made that part was perfect. And, I'm going to cherish that for the rest of the time we play that song. Like that's kind of the way I feel about those. That's I don't know. There's a lot to be said for the live experience being a unique experience, or being its own thing separate from the recorded versions.
Right. That's kind of one of the things that we teeter back and forth on as we incorporate more and more tracks. We play more and more to the click. We sync lights, different things like that. Doing that, we kind of sacrifice some spontaneity. But the argument against tracks being
like losing feel
or different things like that. I think if you're passionate about what you're playing, you're going to get the feel regardless.
And believe me, as a drummer, I'm not a human metronome. Like, we're going to wiggle on that click a little bit here and there. It's going to speed up and slow down a little bit.
As long as you don't do it on the video, damn it.
Yeah, right.
And so I might speak to that, and this was an intentional thing on me. Asylum, if you hear the bass, it's just a smidge behind the click, and I did that on purpose, just to give it the human element and to make it slightly uncomfortable, because the song is uncomfortable.
Yeah, man, that's like, I'm not a huge country music fan or anything, but I do love me some Willie Nelson, and you always hear people say that about the way he sings, that he's like waits to the last possible moment to fit in his lyrics, to fit that in without it being just grotesquely off. But it gives it that real human quality, I guess, and it's kind of a signature thing.
Well, and an exaggerated version of that is the band Cake.
Yeah.
The way he sings. It's like he's always half a beat off on everything he sings. But it's entirely intentional, and I love that band.
I do too. Like totally not like aggressive or metalish or anything, but
I love that band.
Yeah.
I think it's cool to hear more of the human element, especially like, now, don't get me wrong, I love modern metal, and I love just how tight and articulate it is. And there's a lot of bands out there doing some really cool stuff, and I'm sure they're quantized to the grid. But, every once in a while, it's nice to see someone kind of put something out that is new, that isn't, Beat Detective and Pro Tools or whatever people use, and they just, hit everything, especially there was like when I was doing the drum tracking for this, I made a few corrections for stuff that, since it was kind of off the cuff, but like, you can tell when the click is there that like you said, a little bit behind, a little bit before, because I'm a human being. I kind of wanted people to feel that. So
yeah,
some producers will argue, oh, you can't do that these days, but I think it's fine. As long as the song's good, I don't think people are going to get hung up on how correct the timing is. So,
well, and it's funny too, because going back to the video thing, this group is so tight that the drummer goes into those fills and loses one click each time, but the band is just on it. I mean, they never lose sync. It's not like part of it is they don't have a click in their ears. Right. It's solely on the drummer, but they have played together so long that they just ride into it. So it sucks for me, but they sound great.
It's not their job to make you happy. Suck it up. No.
So you guys want to hear something you haven't heard yet?
Sorry, what was that?
Do we want to
hear? You guys want to hear something you haven't heard yet?
Yeah, absolutely we do.
Yeah, we think we can pipe it in, and hopefully we'll do a test. Yeah. We shall see. This is experimental zone.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, one, I really appreciate you guys sharing something new, debuting it on Off the Edge podcast. And two, if it doesn't work, then we'll just plug it in after the fact so that everyone can enjoy it.
Just gonna help Lucas make sure we get it going right.
Right on. What is this song called?
This will be the one we're doing the video for. This is called Monster.
Monster. So as you listen to this, everybody, I want you to envision your inner demons chasing you through
a graveyard.
A graveyard. Yeah. Is it a graveyard or a cemetery? Someone told me the other day,
what's the difference?
There's a church on the grounds of a cemetery. I think that's the difference.
Makes sense.
Beneath the cover of nightfall, the wind pushes me forward, broke by spirits of my transgressions. I'm haunted by my own soul. I feel this monster taking over. I am running out of time. I feel this monster taking over. I am running in the midst of the battle, I catch a glimpse of your wings. I beg you to take away the darkness that's living inside of me. I feel this monster taking over. I am running out of Get out of my head. Get out of my head. Get out of my Feel this monster taking over. Oh God, what have I become? I feel this monster taking over. Oh God, what have I
Monster.
That was freaking incredible, guys.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm definitely get with Zach on getting kind of a perfect circle tool, Pussifier, kind of the Maynard Trinity vibe, but
and I think the only reason I'm kind of coming to that is because it's like, on the heaviness meter. If you can think like, like Lamb of God or something is like at the top of the heaviness meter, and like, I don't know, like, it's like it meets that same level of heaviness, and I don't know.
It's like emotionally heavy.
Right.
I feel
there's
like
different types of heavy. There's definitely different types of heavy.
I feel like it's intelligent. That's what separates, Lamb of God from.
Yeah, we'll all take that one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, it feels intelligent,
Intelligent and
but still emotional.
Emotional, yeah. Like I connect with that on an emotional level.
And now I really want to see a video.
Oh, yeah.
So do we.
Yeah.
I'm not, please don't take this like I'm trying to ingratiate myself with you guys or that I'm just trying to be nice because you're on the podcast. Like,
He totally is.
No, you
all
guys
right,
are
man.
super cool, and I want you to like me. But no, I mean
No,
this,
dude, you're like one of the nicest guys. So
dude. I mean,
I know that you're like this. So
I want you to take this like that. I'm being very sincere. Like, I'm going to listen to your album just because it's the thing that I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Just like I'm going to listen. I can already tell it's like going to be a mainstay. Like when I'm in the car and I want to listen to music, I'm going to be like, dude, I want to listen to The Science Of because these guys rock. Like this is what I want to listen to.
us too. Like I think all of it. We're all the biggest fans of our music right now. Like we listen to it. We listen to it all the time because we're just like, dude, who is this band? This isn't us.
I like am so self-critical of like stuff that I've done in the past that I'm just like, it's okay. I never really go back and listen to it, but I can put this on in the car. I've, having done the production behind it, I get to hear it all the time. And I'm just like, I just never get tired of it. And there are little elements that I had Ashlee do with some of her backing tracks that like I hear again for the first time. And I'm like, oh, that was clever. Like, I hope people pick up on that stuff. So,
just listening to that the first time, besides just the overwhelming feel of it, just from a musician critique standpoint or whatever, the background vocals are amazing. They're really, really good. Is that all Ashlee, or are you guys chipping in on that?
yeah, that's all Ashlee. I kind of helped her with some of the arrangements, and John came up with some ideas, but yeah, that's all her voice.
I definitely would disagree with that. I think a lot of it was like a lot of collaboration with the backing vocals. In fact, a lot of the songs I wrote like the main melody, and then I intentionally did not come up with a lot of ideas for backing vocals and then like just the little things to put in the pockets because I knew that John specifically is kick ass at coming up with ideas for that kind of stuff. And it was so much fun getting to hear their ideas of what would sound cool behind everything. So.
Yeah, it really, really works well. Like it stands out. I'm a sucker like for harmonies and stuff. And I'm saying this as someone that's studied theory, that has studied vocal technique and all these things. But I love rock bands. Like one of my favorites back in the day was Alice in Chains because they always had vocal harmonies. And I'm a sucker for that. And you guys, I love you for that. Like that scratches the itch that I need and like what I'm listening to.
So that begs the question, who's doing the harmonies when you go live?
That we were literally just saying that we don't know how we're going to do that live. But I'm really excited for you to hear the song She, which is the first song after the intro, because I think the harmonies on that are probably my favorite, just the way that they're like interwoven within the melody, and then it kind of meshes with the melody and then breaks out again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'll enjoy those.
Well, look, we're not stopping you.
I honestly think live we probably aren't going to need some of the backing harmonies because I feel like we'll have that edge enough with the energy and the music, and I just feel like Ashlee's voice on its own carries quite a bit, and there's a lot of power there.
Sure,
Yes.
sure.
Guys, once they get more comfortable with the music, might try it. I do backing harmonies for my other band as a drummer, which I don't like to do, but it's possible. So we'll just kind of see. But that kind of harkens back to there's the Science Of album version, and then there's the Science Of live version, and it's okay to have those two different versions of yourself.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, I just want to thank you very much for sharing that with us. I don't think you've shared that anywhere else before now, have you?
No.
Well, man,
Nope,
we
you're the
feel
first.
very privileged. So thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah. So what are we drinking, John?
No problem.
It's what Rob brought us. Little Helper, Mother's Brewing Company, Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, well, all right.
We'll have to add it to our list.
It's pretty good.
Little
Midwest
Helper.
Coast India Pale Ale.
An
You know,
India, an IPA. All right.
I've come to find that I actually like IPAs, so I'll definitely have to try
I
it.
can't get him on board with stouts or ambers, but he'll get down with some IPAs. So I'm.
You know what? I'll
Well, you
drink
like
it. If you
these.
put it in front of me, I'll drink it. I just might complain about it.
As a craft beer connoisseur, I give this a thumbs up.
Right on. We'll check it out then. That's good. At the risk of kind of getting into the weeds here a little bit, I'm all the 2 songs now that I've heard from you guys. I'm super impressed by the production on it. With John, your bass tone is outstanding. The guitar tones are outstanding. The drums sound amazing. I'm really curious, like, what kind of gear you guys are using. I know that this probably won't be interesting for everybody, but man, I got to think there's some gearheads out there like me. Like, I love this stuff. So
Off the Edge podcast presents a rig rundown.
I see an Ampeg cab back there.
Hey, we will nerd out about this stuff all day.
Hell
All
yeah.
I'll start since I have the mic. So with Scrappy's Attic, I was doing a lot of we actually never released stuff, and I think any musician can, when you're doing your own stuff, and I'm going to attribute this to Lucas, his steadfastness and just getting stuff done. Anyone that's ever tried to mix their own stuff can easily fall into the rabbit hole of never being happy with it and keep chasing,
Yeah.
and you can't find the sound. And so I had some gear with Scrappy's Attic, and we recorded some stuff, and there's a few things that I think I'm somewhat proud of, but it just never got to where we wanted to release it. So I ended up selling all that stuff when I moved down to Springfield. And I'm like, well, I still want to have something so I can record my own ideas. So I got it's an Audient IP14 or ID14 interface. It's a smaller little guy, but it's got really good preamps in it, and the line in on it is supposed to be amazing. So I got that guy, and I was like, wow, this thing is just awesome. So it's pretty much just me and my P bass that I think I used most of these tracks. I used a P bass that I built. It's got Geezer Butler's signature pickups in it.
Sweet.
And then most people don't have luck with them, but they just sound really good with those pickups. Ernie Ball Cobalt strings.
Mm-hmm.
Just running right into that. There's a few like things here and there plug-in wise for that I sent to Lucas, but most part it's just raw bass.
Okay, so you just DI'd it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's just that bass just growls, and I love it.
Nice. It sounds freaking great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just ran a couple instances of there's a combination of some of the sim plugins that you were using. You were emulating. He was emulating some Orange and Ampeg stuff, but then I'm a big fan of the Neural DSP stuff. If you can't, have a real rig, everything on that website is gold. And I just ran a couple instances of Parallax for the dirtier stuff. And it's just kind of one of those things that it does all the heavy lifting for you. But I've done a little bit of audio production in the past, and every time I do a project, I learn a little bit more. But I've literally spent probably 100,000 hours of my life in the last 6 years, watching URM Academy and some other YouTubers, the Recording Revolution, Jordan Valeria from Hardcore Mix Studio, because my niche of mixing is actually heavier metal stuff. So I really had to unlearn a lot of things that work for that genre to make it work for a kind of a more indie rock thing. So that was a lot of fun. But as far as my drums go, you can see them here. They're behind me. It's a Zeppelin Bonham Vistalite acrylic kit, and I use mostly Meinl stuff. I've got a Brilliant K and then some darker stuff on the side, and that Superphonic snare is the most mic'd up snare in the world for the reason, and I got some pretty good sounds out of it. So
yeah, absolutely, man.
My setup is probably too simple. It's a American Professional Series Jazzmaster. So P90s running into a Vox AC30, just a tube screamer on the lowest setting. I think my secret weapon is probably my RC boost. I have it on all the time, just on the first channel, and then occasionally the second channel if we do a solo. I think I've got maybe 2 on the whole album because I'm just not cocky like that. But
that's a classic sound, but it sounds modern and fresh in the mix, man.
Yeah. I mean, we ended up retracking here at Lucas's studio because he's got a lot more to work with than I do. And he's just a lot more knowledgeable with plugins and post mixing. I'm just, the stuff I sent. Oh, I did use a Telecaster on one song on Asylum, actually, because we needed just a little bit more twangy tone.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I was wondering if there was if there's a Tele in there, actually.
Yeah, I wanted to be stubborn and use the Tele more, but the Jazzmaster just sounds so good.
I dig a Jazzmaster.
So, yeah,
I
I'm all
definitely
about consistency and being a giant. It's just the most comfortable guitar for me because they are a larger scale. But yeah, that's the basis of my sound. I've got some delays and reverbs, but you don't want to hear about that.
I do want to hear about that, but
Right.
but we'll let you go.
As far as Ashlee's vocals, we just used a Thriller mic. I figured if it was good enough for Michael Jackson's Thriller for his vocals, popped on the SM7B, just took the filter off, had her stand basically right where I'm sitting, and she just sang all the lines right here. So.
All right. Well, yeah, you took the pop filter off and
Yeah.
let it rip.
There's a pop filter on it, but I took the filter off the actual SM7. It's got the foam covering.
Yes,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
So I took that off, but then I put a pop filter in front of it. And yeah, she basically, I'm pretty sure all the lyrics on there were almost all one take as well, too. So.
Wow. The vocals in the mix really stand out front. And
That's good to hear.
No,
it's nice when people are talking nice about a mix you've done because
dude,
it's nerve wracking, when you release it to the world. But what I had her do, actually, I had her dry run sing it 2 or 3 times because she's got a deceivingly powerful voice, and I don't have like an analog compressor or anything. I do everything in the box, just through my interface, which is a first gen 18i20, and that's what everything went through. And so then I'd get an idea of what her waveform looks like, and I'd ride the preamp when she'd get to the heavy spots. So I was, it's almost like manually compressing it myself. And this way, and with the extra takes too, if there was something that got past me, I could just kind of comp it down and, kind of the basic thing everyone does with vocals, I think, now these days. So.
Yeah. Well, it really feels like she's right there in the room with you. Like when you listen to it, like we're listening to it with headphones. It feels like she's whispering in my ear. You know what I mean? It's really well done. Like, I like it.
It's going to be a hit with the ASMR crowd,
Yes, yeah, I know, right? This is totally different genre than what you guys are doing, but one of my favorite bands, and people that listen to this podcast are sick of me talking about it, I'm sure, and Quentin too, because we're both freaks for Typo Negative. And it's like you can hear when he takes breaths and like, all that stuff. It's that similar kind of mix aesthetic, I guess.
It's funny you say that about the breaths. I remember when we did some of the vocals, Ashlee was like, I don't really like the breath sound and whatever. So I took it out initially, and I found myself kind of missing that. You almost notice it like when someone's not taking a breath. So I actually kind of backed up where I cut it off and kind of put some of the breaths back in all of the songs just so it felt a little more, because that kind of falls under how modern music is just getting so sanitized. I wanted some more of that one and that feeling back in the song.
Yeah, it works. It really, really does. I'm very impressed with one, just the technical ability to mix it down that way, your competence in that regard, but just your sensibility all across the board, all of you. Of leaving those little things in, those little humanizing characteristics of the music. It really, most people aren't going to give you credit to realize that those were conscious decisions, but it really does add a lot to the feel of the music.
Thank you, man. That's some pretty cool words.
Well, it seems like it's the science of,
Yeah.
I'm just here for the puns.
Don't want none.
Ashlee mentioned earlier a song called She. I might talk about that because it turned out really awesome too.
Yeah.
When we were writing it, so initially when Rob got better where he could like play again, I drove because I live in Springfield, and so I drive over to his house, and over here in Joplin, and so we had some ideas. We were shooting back and forth to each other, and there's this one song that he sent me. And he was just like, I don't know that it's really anything, but here it is. And so I'm like, that's the one I latched onto. Like, dude, this song's awesome and it's going to be cool. So I'm like, hey, let's work on this. And so it got the title of First Song. And so that's what its working title was First Song. So we worked on it back and forth, and it's probably, I think of all of them, it probably is the closest to your original idea. But I don't know. It's a really cool song. I could see it being a title track, like for some awesome superhero or Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque type TV show. Like, it's that kind of cool song. But we kind of got it done. This is, again, prior to Ashlee coming in. So we kind of got it structured and done and finished up. And I'm like, that song needs an intro. Like, because it starts right off. And I'm like, that song needs an intro. So Rob wrote this intro that was really kick-ass and awesome. And I'm like, okay, during COVID, I got a mandolin, and I kind of messed around with the mandolin before in my past.
Mm-hmm.
And during the pandemic, I ended up ordering I got a pretty nice Velour mandolin. And so I kind of taught myself how to play it better. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to play mandolin on this too. So this intro song is just him on acoustic and me playing the mandolin.
Got John Paul Jones over here. And
yeah, shit ton of reverb. And and so then that song jumps right into the intro part. It's cool as hell. I love it.
That's
love
awesome.
how it sounds.
Is there any more unconventional to rock music instrumentation going on the album? Or it's just the mandolin on the intro of that song?
I think it's just the mandolin on the intro. I don't think we really did anything super crazy. We did, yeah. So there is an 80s song that its working title was 80s AF, and when I was doing the production on that, I was actually having a lot of trouble keeping the low end under control, because it's actually kind of a hard song to play. It's the hardest for me to play on the record just because it's straight tom, like this low rumbling tom, and then I'm doing these quick snare fills. And so I actually kind of took all the bottom end out of the tom, and then John sent me this bass or the synth track. It was like a MIDI synth, and yeah, he did chorus first, and then we did a synth, and I was like, I've never mixed a synth, so I kind of got it seated where I thought it was gonna be, and I think it turned out really good. Just hit remind me later on that. Sorry, my computer's trying to do a Windows update. I'm told it to. No, we're busy.
Always at the most convenient times.
But yeah, so mandolin and synth, and then that song just has an 80s kind of Joy Division Cure vibe. I don't know it.
Nice.
Maybe a little Bon Jovi vocal influence,
Nice.
All right.
Self-Destruct. It's called Self-Destruct now, but our working titles we're definitely different.
I think the working titles are more fun.
They can be.
There's a melody line she sings that kind of reminds us of Runaway by John Bon Jovi. John Bologna, whatever.
If I ever meet him, I'm calling him that to his face, and I'm going to tell him he's my favorite country artist.
I love it.
It'd be like, Richie Sambora sings better than you.
Kind of does.
He really does.
That band should be called Sambora, damn it. No.
Right?
All right, so we got John Bon Jovi from Rob. What are kind of some influences for the rest of you? Maybe not particularly for this album, but just in general, what kind of floats
I can
your
start
boat?
there.
All right.
So I've got 3 bands that I listen to pretty frequently right now. One is my favorite band of all time, and they're called He Is Legend. And then I listened to another band that's like a 3-piece, heavier tuned, ambient rock called Spotlights, which are really good. They're based out of New York. And then I recently discovered a band that I'm going to put on to you guys to check out called Brutus. And they've got a female-led drummer that's also singing. They have a song called War and a song called Sugar Dragon that are just absolutely phenomenal. Like, I think they're going to be opening for the Foo Fighters, so it's nice to see that they're getting some recognition. Yeah, definitely some Perfect Circle vibes on those guys too. But those are my top 3 bands that I've been listening to probably this last few months, except with the exception of Brutus, which I just found a few weeks ago, but I've been playing them nonstop. And
Right
I've drawn
on.
a lot of inspiration for it.
That's cool. I've heard Spotlights a little bit, but the other 2 I have not. So I'll check those out. Cool. How about
Yeah.
you, Ashlee?
So I just kind of grew up listening to a lot of 70s and 80s music, and didn't really know that anything else existed. So I a lot of that, a lot of Fleetwood Mac, not to be trendy, but I actually do like them. And Bonnie Raitt. And then once I got older, I really just like to listen to and try and mimic like powerful people, because I feel like it expands my range. So I sing along a lot with like Demi Lovato. I think she is super, I mean, I know she's incredibly famous, but I think vocally she's very underrated. People don't really appreciate what she does enough.
Mhm.
And then obviously like Hayley Williams, I feel like that's pretty basic, but
Oh,
she's
no.
literally insane, and I wish I could do that.
No, that's awesome. But keep doing you, because that's awesome. No need to emulate other people.
I guess I listen to a lot of everything, but love U2, actually, specifically 80s U2.
Yeah, I like that shit a lot too, for sure.
I feel like, I want to be cool and list a bunch of post-hardcore bands, but honestly, I have a lot of like pop punk upbringing. I don't want to sound too hipster. In the 90s, I was into the new metal thing, anything alt rock.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of that stuff I kind of came back to because, I wanted to be hard at the time. And now I go back and I listen to like Gin Blossoms and think, man, those guys were so underrated. And how did I not appreciate that sooner? Just songwriting in general. Like I could listen, I'm just as inspired by like Tegan and Sarah as I am by a band like Spotlights. It all just hits me in a different way. As long as it latches onto me emotionally in some way, I probably take something from it.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 And I'll speak to Rob too here on like all of our songs. They have a very similar feel. But there is definitely, you can hear his influences. And we even have one song it's pretty much a punk song. I'm going to be honest. It's pretty much a punk song. To me, it sounds like a sped up Jimmy Eat World. And with a little bit of, there's some Smashing Pumpkins like bends and stuff that he does in that song that I get that from it. I mean, it totally doesn't sound like Smashing Pumpkins, but I can hear that influence in it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
as for me,
Siamese
like-
Dream's one of my favorite
Oh,
albums
yeah.
still. I mean,
the Pumpkins are one of my favorite all-time bands. So
I mean, all right, quick note. I'm sorry to interrupt you, John, but I'm just going to throw
no,
this
you
in
were
here.
fine, dude.
When I first started playing with Matt, not first started, but when we got back playing together, he was building guitar pedals, and I was playing a lot more guitar at the time, not drums. So I said, I want a big muff, an op amp big muff like Billy Corgan uses, like build it for me. And God damn it sounds just like the Siamese Dream freaking
Nice.
big muff. Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Thick, heavy
Yes.
mush.
Yes. So all right, just had to throw that in there. Like,
No, you're fine.
it's awesome.
Happened to build another one.
I was like, build me a triangle clone and build me the op amp. Big Muff because I want.
You know, what I learned from that is that the op amp is really nice and quiet, kind of self-gating, and the triangle is noisy as shit. But it sounds really good.
Yeah. All right. That's my gear geek out segment of the podcast. All right, go ahead.
What were we talking about? Oh, influences. Nice.
Sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, like, I don't know, band influences versus like, in terms of like bassists I look up to, of course, Geezer Butler is like probably one of my favorite bass players of all time. Him and I have the same birthday, so I feel like it's kismet. One of the few tweets I've gotten back from a celebrity when I built that P bass, I tweeted at him like, "Hey dude," or like, "Hey man, I've got your signature pickups in this. It sounds amazing." And he tweeted back to me, and I felt like I'm on top of the world right now because Geezer Butler of Black Sabbath just tweeted back at me like,
it's like he knows I exist.
He knows I exist, and this is amazing.
Right.
No, in terms of more modern-ish bass players, I love Mikey Shoes from Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah.
He's like a big influence of mine. Queens of the Stone Age themselves I really love them, and I like a lot of their stuff that's not as mainstream. It's just kind of a little bit out there, but I think they're some brilliant songwriters.
For sure. That I think we did. Was it last podcast that we were talking about? Yeah, I think it was. I think it was last podcast that we did. We were talking about how I never say his name right. Josh Home or Homie.
Oh,
Yeah. How
I've said it both ways, probably in the same conversation. So
yeah. Well, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like he's really experimental with the gear he uses. Like he almost only uses like very small amps. And uses really antique preamps and stuff to get that kind of messy distortion that he uses. I really dig the experimental nature of how he approaches playing guitar. I don't know. So that's kind of inspiring for me, talking about Queens of the Stone Age. So,
but in terms of like recent stuff, I guess I've been back in the 80s hardcore in the last year or so. Like Orchestral Maneuvers in the Night, of course, The Cure, The Cars. Yeah, like, I don't know, like
sweet
80s new wave post-punk stuff I've just been really absorbing a lot of. So Joy Division.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of
New Order, yeah.
I kind of side with Rob growing up. There was a lot of really Bon Jovi kind of pulled me in. You know, before that it was Duran Duran, stuff like that, which Duran Duran's still one of my top all-time bands.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, then of course I was born in 75. So, the 80s were my heyday. So I got into, then followed Poison, Motley Crue, all the hair metal and different stuff like that. And what I find nowadays, they always talk about when you hit high school, that's when you find the music that defines you. I tend to find that now, as opposed to the hair metal, I spend way more time going back to the 80s pop. Your Duran Duran, your Joy Division, your Drexy's Midnight Riders, all that, all the classics, Aha, and I can't get enough of it. I love it.
Oh, I'm the same. Like, I did the hair metal thing, and then at some point I just grew out of it and looked back at all the new wave and the post-punk movement, and it's like, man, how did I not notice that sooner? It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked it then, but it was that teenage angst where you just progressively get heavier and heavier and heavier,
Oh yeah.
It was like Pantera, but then at the same time Nirvana was hitting the scene, so it was like those two poles. But again, those were
Great Southern Trendkill was my first like heavy album. I got it for Christmas one year, and
That's a pretty good intro.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize my stereo was like cranked all the way up, and I just put it in, and that opening track just like blew my face off. And my dad comes in the room, he's like, "What the hell is that?" I was like, "You bought it for me? I don't know."
That's what a real Texas rattlesnake sounds like.
That's awesome. I kind of think of I never really got into the like you're saying, kind of the post-punk movement, but I think that I got into the next generation of that sound, which I would define as like oh shoot, now I'm drawing a blank of the Mezzanine is the name of the album. Oh shoot, like Tricky and Portishead.
Oh,
the trip hop stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of really get into that kind of a laid back but kind of almost jazzy but still hard hitting kind of a sound.
There was like a whole movement for that people just don't really remember.
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
I was hopping on the Crystal Method and the Prodigy and stuff like that.
I dig that stuff too for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude. All right. The Lawrence and the Granada, probably one of my favorite shows I've ever been to was Atari Teenage Riot. Do you guys remember those guys at all?
Oh yeah.
I do.
Yeah, dude.
I've heard it in like 20 out of the 25 episodes that we.
No, do I talk about it that much? All right. I guess I'm
not that many times.
No, but
At least 10.
All I'll say is that I am not one that dances, but I danced that night, guys. I danced a lot.
I think it might have had something to do with those little squares of tissue paper that they gave you.
My girlfriend would probably relate with this conversation more than me.
No
she
comment.
did a lot more living in the 90s than I did.
So, you talked like you're going to start with some live streams. Do you guys kind of have a timetable of when we can expect the first live stream?
Once we feel confident to hit start streaming, I've got all the equipment and I think everything ready to go. I think our first rehearsal is going to be without Ashlee, just so I can get because I don't have a PA in here. Everything's sent out of audio sends to a personal headphone amplifier. I give anyone the mix that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I listen to the main mix to make sure there's nothing wrong that's going out. And then when the next rehearsal, she'll come out and I'll have hers set up. I'll get her mix done. And once we feel confident and we're like, not like nervously playing because we're like, oh gosh, we haven't rehearsed these songs. Once we're like beast moding it, we'll probably make an announcement and just kind of figure out if we should start our own, channel or go off an existing one. We just kind of work out some things like that. Or, we might even be able to pipe right into a Facebook stream. I know I've got all the equipment for it. It's just a matter of when, but when we do decide, we'll post something about it on our Facebook page. So,
you might start like that first one where it's just the three of you, do like get it set up and just do like 30 seconds of Facebook Live. Just throw out teasers as you go. Just to generate a little buzz and we'll of course share the shit out of it.
Yeah. We'll blow it up as much as we possibly can
because we're excited to hear it. We're excited to hear it. For sure.
Yeah, we're excited to play it, man.
Awesome.
And when live shows get back, we're excited to play with you guys too.
Yes, that's going to be a definite freaking thing that has to happen. We've got to share a stage. That just has to happen.
And maybe
I
if you
regret not coming over to Joplin. I mean, I couldn't because I was strapped to my call phone, but missing you guys playing with Saving Abel the other day.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was kind of a cluster.
It wasn't very well organized. Behind the,
to be truthful, I could have asked more questions.
Live and learn.
I thought that would have been, relative information that people would give out.
But you know what? That was a successful gig. Like we went up and played. We were direct support for the band. We were right before Saving Abel went up, and we got off the stage, and I think we spent a good 45 minutes just signing autographs. Like we felt like rock stars for a little bit. It was, to be honest, like
we kept asking people, "Are you sure you want us?"
Yeah, like are you looking for us? Are you like really? But people were really into it. I think we made a lot of new fans. It was definitely a good show.
That's good.
Yeah,
It was fun.
That's good that, local music, that people will come out even earlier. That I know that can be discouraging, like even for a national act, like coming out, like being the opening band and people not being there or enthused for the opening band because they're just the local band. But that's good that this area is like supported you guys like that.
Yeah, like we showed up probably an hour before the doors opened, and there were already people waiting there. Like people want music. They want live music.
Yeah,
they're ready
that's
for
good.
it. Yeah. And I'm super impressed. Like you guys are doing what I've always thought would be the best way to go about things. Like you are hitting the ground running. Like you are going to, when you play your first show, you are already going to have your album out. You are, going to have word out about you guys. Like people are going to be jazzed to come see the live performance. Like you have all your ducks in a row, and probably some of that is because the pandemic.
Oh, sure.
Probably put that in line for you guys or whatever. But man, you guys have attacked that in so the right way in my mind. So I think I think
a lot of us we were talking like, no offense to like the newer bands coming up, but like we've all kind of cut our teeth a little bit, and we don't. And Rob talked about it earlier. We don't want to play like on a Thursday night to like 5 of our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. We were just trying to get it, like you said, ducks in a row. So like when we do release this thing, we can like at least have a good go at it versus.
Right. You're going to hit the ground running for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a good strategy. I think it's going to pay off, especially with the quality of what you guys are putting out. So,
yeah, we're still like blown away with like how this turned out. Like, gonna be honest, like we had no expectation. Like when we were like Rob and I were shooting like demos back and forth. Like,
I think having no expectation though, like kind of made it become the thing that it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that kind of frees you up. You don't have a plan.
Right.
You don't have lofty goals. You just start things to see where it goes. And like you said, everything's been real organic. So you just ride the wave, and it just happens to be a really good shit.
That's right. You should put a label on the album that says 100%
Really good shit.
organic.
Yeah.
100% organic.
USA Organic, really good shit.
Really good shit.
You
Primo
put
shit.
You put the little sticker on there that says, that like they do the album reviews, and it'll be like Off the Edge podcast, really good shit.
Yeah. You can quote us on that.
We're gonna put that on the Facebook page, man. When we drop the album,
Hell
that's
yeah.
exactly that's going
Awesome.
on there. We're gonna quote it.
Awesome.
Really good
Please
shit.
do. That's great.
We'll give you guys a shout out.
I'm putting that on my job resume.
Yeah. Well, it'll be like the last reference that you list, Off the Edge podcast.
So anybody that calls was like, yeah, man, he makes some really good shit.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, is there anything before we let you go? Is there anything that we haven't covered that you guys would like to bring up that people should know?
Oh, Poop Moon. Poop Moon.
Poop Moon?
It's a Joplin legend that goes back years, decades, some would say.
I know nothing about this.
Oh, you've never heard of Poop Moon?
No.
We're still researching this ourselves. No, when we were doing our photo shoot, there was a random building that had graffiti on it that said Poop Moon. So we've been building local lore
Okay.
around the legend of Poop Moon.
In a similar vein, we're from Cherryvale, Kansas, which is, town of, what is it, like 2,500 people, something like that. Yeah. There's, railroad tracks bisect the town, and the train goes super freaking slow through the town. And, people graffiti sides of trains. One time I'm walking with my brother, and who is now, wasn't at the time, but is now my brother-in-law. We're walking, and we just see Hump a Chumpy. Hump a Chumpy. So it's like, I don't know what a Chumpy is, but God damn it, you got to hump it.
Maybe the two are connected somehow. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, Hump a Chumpy on the Poop Moon.
You know what? That's the podcast title right there.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
All right. Well, you guys, you said that you have started your Facebook page. I'm already following it, but why don't you throw it out there for everybody?
Yeah, right now we're just on Facebook. We'll add the other stuff later, but if you just look, I think it's The Science of Band. Like if you do facebook.com/The Science of Band should take you to it, or if you just type The Science of under pages, I think it pops up there. You'll see a little kind of what is that? A helix, or not a helix, but it looks like an atom. And then you'll see our name, and then there's a group shot of us on the cover page. But that's where most of our information is going to be put out for now. And then when we get the other stuff rolling, we'll have sublinks and stuff to that.
Excellent. So May 11th, the album drops. The album is everything. And I mean
That's
that like that's the title, and I mean that like it's everything. So
yeah, it'll be on our Bandcamp, because we have started a Bandcamp. There's nothing on it yet, but it'll be there, and it'll be on every major streaming platform. So awesome.
Well, I encourage everyone listening to check it out May 11th. Don't hesitate. You will. Damn it! You heard Monster. They played it for you on this podcast. You know what you're getting into. It's freaking awesome. So check it out, man. Support these guys. So I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to get with us this evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I truly hope that everything keeps going well for you guys. I wish the best for you, and I cannot wait to play with you.
Yes.
Yeah, we're excited. We're looking forward to the music coming back too. That's going to be exciting for everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. I wish you the best. And to everyone listening, please subscribe. Please check out The Science of. And we'll see you next time on Off the Edge Podcast.